want us to all have to think, because I think it was Frederick Douglass, and I can always, I'm often quoting the wrong person, but I think he said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress, yes. Something like that. So it is the struggle, the discomfort, that growing edge, that is the place where we move forward. If we're always comfortable in a place that everything is just easy, it's not a place of growth. How many of you out here are dancers, right? Okay, so you know, I'm going to get up and do this demonstration. So if this is your habit, right? If that's your habit, that's comfortable, right? And so then the teacher is asking you to find alignment. It's uncomfortable, and you feel like you feel weird. You don't know where you are. So then you keep, well, okay, I'm going to go back to it, because that feels right for me, right? That feels right, but I'm shortening my lower spine, I'm doing what? So, but if I keep going back to that, because that feels right, and I don't go to the place of discomfort to make change, then I never grow. So I just do the same habits every day in dance class, right? Every day, and I think I'm working, but in fact, I'm doing the things that make me feel comfortable. Growth is getting into that area of discomfort in order to make change. And it feels a little destabilized. I know when I was, because I had this habit of hearing this felt right to me, learning where center is destabilizing. We got to live in that place for a little bit in order to find change. So I encourage all you dancers and everyone that when you're getting that feedback or that information, and it's coming in a way that, you know, if it's not making sense, ask the teacher. For me, I know because of the cultural prejudices, when the teacher was telling me to try to find my place here, I was like, I got a big butt. That's what they're dissing me because of my butt. They don't understand. And because of the way the information was coming to me, which was judgments about my butt, I couldn't hear about the alignment. Because I heard the judgment. And believe me, the judgment was there. So you want to find the places where that judgment isn't there, and you can find that alignment, the center, because that's going to make you stronger. But to get there, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's the only way the growth will occur.
That was beautiful. We're at church, you can say something. One of the things that I like about creative life and the creative process is that it starts with an idea. It's a blank stage, a blank screen, a blank piece of paper, but it's something in your head. And to take it from there to an auditorium full of people and lights and motion and sound and a show is a very long distance. And it takes a lot of will and focus and discipline. But I think it's also what you're talking about in terms of that comfort zone of stepping beyond, because I hear a lot of young artists say, you know, I have this, oh, I'm a writer. And I say, okay, well, what have you written? Well, I haven't really written anything yet. I have some notes. You have ideas and notes. Okay, those are steps. But you have to keep pushing past that. And I think one of the things about folks who have been oppressed and disenfranchised and a sort of directed psychological and physical violence at them is how do you tell your story and reveal not just your humanity, but all humanity. Because ultimately the stories are the same. People fall in love, they get born, they die, they get angry, they get hungry, they get displaced, they get educated, they have some more babies, they cheat, they lie, they steal. Human stories are essentially the same. The difference is context. Where the story is told and what influences how it's told and how the people are shaped by it. So there's never a questioning if there's a French film, for instance. You never question that France somehow influenced it. And you never question the humanity of the French filmmakers or the actors. They're just telling a story that happens to be set in Paris that's influenced by Parisian history and French history and whatever other influences from their own neighborhood. But what happens to people who are marginalized is there's a questioning of the story. But only we can tell it in order to make sure that that story gets told and that it's just a human story that illuminates this context. And I think that that's particularly true for African Americans, for black and brown people, for women, for Native Americans. I've been trying to verify this picture, and I'm not trying to offend any Republicans in the audience.
Why not?
But I saw this picture of Mitt Romney, who was incredibly dark. And then I kept looking, and he looked oranger and oranger. And when he went to talk to Univision the other night, in a room full of Latinos, his makeup was Have you all seen this picture?
No.
Okay, so
He's dark.
it's so ludicrous, it's hard to imagine. But if you see this picture, you think, what would possess a person running for president to go talk to a room full of Hispanic voters and to make his skin brown?
Wow.
And I saw somebody's comment that said if he was talking to a room full of black people, would he have appeared in blackface? You know, or a room full of women, would he have come in drag? You know, I mean, where's the limit? But the point for me is we have to tell our own stories. Our voice has to be heard, and to be heard, all of these things that we're talking about, I think, are a part of that process. The education you're getting, but it's beyond the formal education. It's your own education and commitment to learning and to finding that voice that I think is being discussed here. I want to shift for a second because part of the influence of your work we started talking about is Africa. And one of the things that stays in my mind is a quote from the poet Césaire. It's a long poem, but this is the part of it that I remember. There's no place on this earth without our fingerprints and our heel in the skeletons of skyscrapers and our blood in the brilliance of diamonds. Now, when I read that poem, I had never heard anybody talk about the disbursement of Africa and Africa's contribution to the world we live in all its beauty and all of its pain, in those few lines. And so when I look at your work and other people who have this voice that is clearly influenced by an African artistic and creative kind of impulse, it's always interesting to me how it's expressed, but also how it was found. And you talked some about how it was found, but that it's...
Yeah. I go to see and look at everything that I can possibly get my hands on. I want to back up and just say Césaire, if you have not heard of him, it's Amy, A-I-M-E, Césaire, Martinique writer. And just recently I had this book of his poetry. And a friend of mine, Katrina, came over. She was in my room and she said, Césaire! And so she was just so excited because it was in French and in English. I went to see Einstein on the beach the other night, Philip Glass opera. It was 4.5 hours. It was glorious. I was moved to tears at certain points. And you know, there's a point where I couldn't have seen it because I was just rejecting this. But I've always been curious, so I go to see all kinds of, so I went to see Noor Chapamiri, who's from Zimbabwe, doing a work that is inspired by, it's not about Miriam Makeba, it's about the icon of Miriam Makeba. So I went to see her one night. Then I went to see Michae and Vijay Iyer did a piece on veterans. And Vijay Iyer is a pianist, Michae is a poet. And it had no dance. And so I went to see that. And then I went to see Einstein on the beach. I'm going to see, I hope I can